enough. As good enough.
Mark, take a breath. Take a deep
hey.
breath.
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Relax.
My hair. How's my hair?
It's short.
I know, man. I got my hair cut.
You
my
got
hair.
a lot of hair cut off.
Well, I it's got to last me to April. So,
Well, there you go. How
yeah.
are you, man?
Doing well. I just got back from Rotary, so I'm pumped, excited. Good meeting. So,
I had, it was funny. I was sitting on the screened-in porch drinking, which I like to do.
day drinking? You mean like earlier?
Well, the sun was still up.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't morning drinking, but you can't drink all day unless you start in the morning. I do know that.
Yeah.
So I got that for some reason. I had this vision popped in my head about being in your mom's bookstore, the bookshop,
The bookstore.
and I just have such fond memories of that shop, and I remember I wanted to tell you this because it was such a good, I would go in there and I'd pick out some book or something, and if your mom was working, not always, but you just didn't pay for the book. You got a full synopsis of the book you're buying. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, you're going to like that one. And then, it's hardly a book in there you could buy that she hadn't read or didn't know something about.
You remember she had, the mouse hole where little kids could.
Yeah, the little back in the corner. Yep.
Back in there underneath, there were pillows, the shape of cheese wedges. And
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And then the big sleigh that was there that had all on sale and stuff like that. But then down in the basement, she had an exercise room, and that was where that time they all seemed like little old ladies to me, but they had this one contraption we used to get on as kids. It was a roller, and it just rolled down your body up and down.
Yeah, I remember those things. The reducer.
Is that what it is?
That's what they call them. They were reducing. When they were down there, they were reducing.
Yeah.
Reducing their weight.
So
anyway. Isn't that funny that thing come flooding back to me vivid? I wish I had a picture of the inside of that. The house is still there, right? That it was in?
I'm assuming the house is still there, but it's right there by Casey Junior High.
Yeah. I love that bookstore. It was
that was very creative, but probably not the wrong time, but the wrong place. Mount Vernon, I'm not sure was
going to be a place like that, like Bloomington would be. It would go good in Bloomington.
Yeah. But I mean, a cute place like that. Yeah. And then of course, when the
I don't know, Mount Vernon is surprising. I think Cedarhurst Museum again. Your mom had a lot to do with the Cedarhurst Arts and Craft Fair and the trustee money and all that. And I mean, look at it. Look at that museum and that whole grounds that would be a showpiece anywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the arts are alive and well there.
Yeah.
Also was going to tell you that I don't know if we talked about this, but Caprice has got bitten by the acting bug. She's in this acting troupe.
Wow.
So she's done a couple plays, and the last play that she did, she was one of those kids in the background, singing along. And I said, Caprice, you should get some lines. I said, I don't want to do it. Well, they gave her a couple of lines, so she was practicing, and then she was so good they gave her some more, and then they gave her a solo. So a couple of weeks ago, we went to see, it was it's a troupe out of Peoria, and they come to different towns and they get the kids together with other kids, and they did Finding Nemo, and so she's got the bug now. I just wanted you to know that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And she looked like she'd been on that stage all of her life.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's, theater's a good training, especially at that age, to be able to get up in front of people, to face your fears, to have responsibility, hit your marks, show up on time. I mean, I've always told people that theater, the arts, that everybody always says when they say sports, they think, oh, baseball, football, basketball, soccer. sports is anything that's competitive and anything that requires you to show up on time. I mean, theater is sports.
Show up on time, cooperate, communicate.
Yeah. It's all sport. You can treat it like, math. What was the math sport? Math, something we used to do. Not us, but our kids in junior high.
Not me.
Middle school, yeah. I mean,
math is hard.
They used to do, math Olympics or something like that. That's a sport. They had comedy improv. That's a sport.
I might have a shot at that one.
Yeah. She really wants to take it another step, is if she sees any improv classes, do those, because that will teach her to think on her feet. That will teach her to be able to respond, but respond in the positive. Don't immediately go to a negative.
There's a college professor here at ISU that does a class on improv for salespeople. And it's the same. I mean, he does it as a comedy thing, but it's really interesting. I took like a half day version of it. I really liked the guy. He did a wonderful job. And, I learned some stuff in it, and what is it? Yes. And
yeah.
Right. Yes. And
exactly. You never say no, if they say you're a grape, you're a grape,
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm a grape with an attitude,
Yeah.
So yeah. And exactly.
So how's your week been?
Good. Busy. I got to ride a tractor. I got to mow with a big boy tractor,
Do you own that tractor? Or did you?
No, don't own
I didn't remember seeing a tractor on the farm.
That was a neighbor. Well, I had a riding lawnmower.
Well,
big boy riding lawnmower. This is
some people call their sheds barns, so.
Well, no, this is a riding lawnmower, and our neighbors who have Campo de Nico Olive Farm let me use it. They asked me, say, "Hey, you want to use our tractor?" Yes, love to use that. I don't want to drive that,
Hey, I also wanted to thank you for publishing my poem last week.
Yeah.
And
I'm telling you, man, you've got a book there. You have a book. Your poems are so good. I don't know.
Well, they can. I always feel like they can use
one per page, and boom, boom, boom.
I had the old saying, I don't know who said this, but somebody said, maybe it was about art, but I've heard it about poems or painting. They're never finished. They're only abandoned.
Yeah.
I can't quit tinkering with them.
But so,
and I also thank you for hooking me up with the Bloom, because they're publishing a couple of mine in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we just had their 5-year anniversary party in the barn.
For the Bloom?
Yeah.
That's a slick newsletter.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know, but they have a podcast for their poetry. So I'm ashamed that I forgot her name, but
Trudy.
No, the poetry editor.
Georgina?
Yeah. She does this podcast. It's really a good podcast. So I've gotten into that.
And we have Georgina on. She was the poet laureate here for American Indian, so
they're doing, they're talking some heavy on her podcast. It's some heavy poetry stuff. It's not,
she's
what rhymes with chime. I don't know.
It's a serious business for her.
Yeah.
She uses it to acknowledge her philosophies,
you can tell that, right?
Which is kind of what it is, that's why
well, I'm excited about your guest today. This is I don't know which direction this is gonna go, because there's looking at the resume.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, we forgot to do our advertisements, but we got 1 minute.
Okay. Listeners, the podcast is brought to you by GoodEnough, is brought to you by the Ripe Choice Farm Stay and Catering here in Northern California. Just Google that, it'll pop up. The Ripe Choice Farm Stay and Catering. And Happy Friday Neighbors newsletter comes out every Friday morning. So what you got, Sam?
I got here in Bloomington, Illinois, we got Pride Staff in Bloomington, full service staffing agency. We do temp to hire and direct hire. We specialize in light industrial, office, clerical, and warehouse. Also, brought to you by Sam Substack. Be a subscriber today and get a copy of Finally Friday Philosophy on Friday morning, so you can goof off. You ain't doing any work on Friday morning.
Yeah.
Let's face
it. Substack. It sounds like I'm ordering pancakes. I'll take the Substack.
with a pound of fried sausage.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go meet our guests. All right.
You got to hit video. Look at that. There he is. The man, the myth, the legend. Look at that. See, Sam, he's got stuff behind him. He's not just a blank wall of nothing. Like that wall, I want to go write stuff on that wall. But I want to graffiti that wall.
Well, that's because I don't know how to do what you just did to blur that background behind you.
It's up on the right side in the hamburger up in the upper right. You can blur background.
Jeff, he keeps making fun of my background. He I just want to stand out. I don't want any distraction behind me.
Yeah, well, you stand out. So, hey, listeners, this is our friend Jeff Davis, who now lives up here in Northern California, in Lakeport, California. And he is a finance guru, wealth manager of your money. And so we want to talk a little bit about that, but I'm going to tease a little bit here. This guy will take you down. This guy will put you into a pretzel. This guy, don't say, hey, I'll wrestle you for that cookie, because he will, and he will kick your butt. Okay. There you go.
And I like cookies.
And he likes cookies, so he will wrestle you for that cookie. I love it. I love it. So, all right. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I just had a radio show earlier today, and you came up in the conversation, and they wanted to know how you were doing. So how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Who was your guest?
Brad White.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. We were promoting. We were promoting the Blue Wing Blues this weekend.
Right. Yeah. So that's cool.
Yep. So
Brad is a great guy.
He is.
Yeah.
So I'm doing really good. I'm it's kind of an interesting day. I'm from Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah.
And everything I'm watching on TV. I've got friends that live in Steinhatchee. I've got family in Tampa. My son lives in Gainesville with his partner, and it's just
it pretty much rolled right over Gainesville, right?
That's the thing. That storm is up there by the Panhandle, so it's coming right. It's going right there, right? Or it hasn't.
Oh, it's already gone. It's already. I think it's up to Savannah and on its way out to the ocean right now. Okay. This was a very, very fast hurricane.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Oh yeah. I mean, these things, when they hit it, I've probably been through 50 of them. And when they usually are just slow rolling. It's an all day affair. And this was maybe 3 or 4 hours of hard storm, and they were gone from Gainesville. But
so they don't have any usual wind and rain. It's just it's back to
not
normal.
Right now. Yeah. They've got flooding.
Did he go through the whole boarding up windows and sandbags?
No. If you do that most of the time, if you've got big windows, you might do that. On the other hand, if you're going to be on the beaches, you want to be boarded up. But we're 125 miles from the coast, so we would hope that it's going to be that we would be in a position where they wouldn't have very much of that. But at the same time, it's pretty standard that you're going to have when you have a big hurricane, that you're going to lose electricity, you're going to have flooding, and you're going to have a lot of trees that are going to come down.
Yeah,
and that's exactly
right. We're on the low budget podcast. We did not pay the big bucks to go beyond 10 minutes. So
40 minutes. We're 40 minutes.
Oh, listeners, I want to tell you, this is Jeff Davis. Like I said, he's a neighbor up here in Lake County, or over here in Lake County, and he still keeps a few clients, has an office, and is doing wealth management. But he sold his business. He lived the American dream and sold his business, which was based in Florida, where he lived before he moved here. And boy, how was that? I mean, just selling your business, do you feel like a weight off your shoulders, or
No,
hand
I
the
think
accounting and taxes over to somebody else? Or?
for me, I'm a big believer in God. So there's a reason that all of this is happening in my life. But I would tell you that if I hadn't have sold it, I would, I wouldn't be here, but I would. It was selling the golden goose, and it really wasn't something I would have done if I didn't think I was dying.
That's right. You had health issues.
I had 100% blockage of the widowmaker in 2015.
Yeah. And 100%, that's almost all of it, isn't it?
90% of the time you die in the first 3 hours.
So I read that in your bio that you got a stent for the widowmaker, because that's usually a bypass, isn't it?
Well, it's usually you're dead.
Usually you're dead, right.
But I'm a mile from the best medical facilities in the state of Florida. And so 2.5 hours after it started, I already had a stent in my heart. So if I hadn't been in the right, I'm sorry?
It's great when the doctor's a client,
Keep this guy alive. You got my money.
He did become a client.
He had them. You got my money. You're doing great with it. I got to keep you alive. Sure.
It took about for a year I couldn't walk 100 yards.
Oh
wow,
that's
and I met a doctor who changed my whole life with diet, exercise, prayer, and meditation.
Yeah, wow.
I went from 13 medications to 1. I went from not being able to walk 100 yards to my son's. I wrestled at the University of Florida, then I coached there, and I've been involved in the sport all my life. My sons both were All-American wrestlers, and so we'd had a little kids program. My older son, I'd handed it off to him. He saw me sitting on my rear end, getting sicker and sicker and not doing it. He said, "Come on, just walk around. You don't have to do anything, just walk around." So I walked around, and at the end, we did about 15 seconds of pushing. I was exhausted. So that was November. December, I got a Christmas present. I got here, Dad, here's your entry to the Nationals U.S. Open in April in Las Vegas, and here's your plane ticket. You got to get in shape.
Start training.
So I did, and I looked at the list, and I didn't see any guys I recognized from the college days. So how good a shape do I need to be in to beat these guys? Well, I went out there and got my ass kicked. And it was, I didn't even finish. I mean, the first match that I had, I was 1.5 minutes, and I knew that I only had 1.5 minutes in me. Well, the matches are 6, so that doesn't always work. And
math problem, and math is hard.
But one of the interesting parts about it is that the guy that I wrestled in that first match is kind of a legend in Masters wrestling. He's won a couple of world championships, a dozen medals, and hadn't lost to anybody in the United States in 15 years. Well, at that point, it was 10 years. So I started competing again at 65 and around the world, and I started, and I ended up winning a couple of world championships in freestyle for men over 60. Wow. And my very last match for the world championship in November of 2021, I wrestled that guy that I couldn't even finish the match the first time I wrestled him. And now he had his streak of 15 years. He hadn't lost to an American, and he lost to an American. He wasn't very happy. He was the world champion at the age group below. He thought he'd move up, beat me, and he was very disappointed.
The only thing is when he was down there on the ground and you stood up, you should not have put your foot on his chest and then held your head. I mean, that just was bad for sports. I mean, you just can't do that.
I didn't do it on his chest. I did it on the back of his head.
Like a ball.
You know what? I gotta tell you, that is a role model for seeing. You should be on the front cover of AARP. I mean, they should be interviewing you because that's purpose too. When it gave you purpose. And,
absolutely.
What's the takeaway? If you had to, okay, so let's tell listeners out there, anybody. I mean, it could be a person who has a debilitating disease and they're in their 30s. Anywhere. What's the takeaway? What do you say?
I would say that if you want to get healthier, you have to do some work, but you can get healthier.
But I was almost going to say, get a second opinion, because I mean, look at that. You went from a traditional method of treatment to one medicine, and then the rest was all a mental and a practice and a routine of positive thinking, Christian values, all of those.
Diet.
Okay, was there any heart conditions in your family?
Yeah, my grandfather died at 63 of attack. So, but that was in the 50s. So yeah, there was. My dad lived to 90, so he it wasn't a problem for him. But my brothers passed away in his sleep at 60. Yeah. Nobody knows, but you assume that he had a heart attack. Yeah. So I'd had a complete cardiac workup about 3 months before, stress tests, blood tests, everything, and they said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. We just need a few fine tuning. Yeah. So most of the time when you have that widowmaker, it's because of what they would refer to as unstable plaque. Yeah. So I'd had I'd had a whole workup done a few years before that, and they found about 30% blockage. They look at the carotid artery because that's a really good indicator. And what we saw was I wasn't very occluded. I did have high sugar. So they wanted me to have less sugar. We were going to work on diet. So unstable plaque means everybody's got plaque. They break, they throw off blood clots. Most of them are just tiny. They run through our system and we get rid of them. I blew up one that basically blocked the left descending artery. So I went from fooling around with my sweetheart to laying there and my dog coming up to the bed and saying, something's wrong, get up, something's wrong. She was not going to let me lay there. Wow. The 90-pound lab, and she was, no, you are not laying there, get up, something's wrong. And I walked about 10 yards and boom, it hit like somebody shot me. I've never been shot, but I can only imagine the pain.
So, all right. So, for our listeners' benefit, what were the symptoms when you, right before and as you went down?
Nothing, and a little pain in the top of my shoulder. Right at there. And then once I went down, it was all in here. So I found that grabbing under my arm and squeezing right there, which turns out you've got branches of nerves and blood that are going from the cardiac area right up into your shoulder. And that's why they say your left shoulder, it's all right in here. And it was right there. And I squeezed it, walked about 20 yards, got to the couch, sat down. My sweetheart was trying, she was on the phone calling 911. I've heard the audio. It was 911. What's the emergency? I think my sweetheart's having a heart attack. Is he breathing? At that point, I really, oh yeah, I'm breathing.
I got your attention.
Kind of questions.
Am I breathing?
Is he conscious? How cold is he? He's very cold. Okay, here's what you need to do. And so 6 minutes. The EMTs were there 6 minutes after.
Like a long time. That actually seems like a long time.
It wasn't long at all.
Really? It seems like it should only be. I mean, of course, I lived in a beach area.
That's actually shockingly fast, if you ask me. I mean, it may feel like a long time, but that was shocking. 6 minutes.
Okay. Oh yeah, and there they were. I apologize about that. I should have turned off that little thing over there.
I remember when I had my first heart attack.
Oh, you've had a heart attack?
Oh no, I'm just kidding. No,
I did. I did a couple years ago. I was out.
Right. Sammy. Okay, Sam, I'm going to tell this story. Sammy is out doing one of his 100-mile bike rides or 50-mile bike rides and all of this, and he all of a sudden heart attack. I mean, you can,
Well, it
doesn't
wasn't suddenly, it just kind of
really
started
knew
building up, but it
what was
was.
going on, but something was going on, your arm, everything, all those things, the signs you say.
No,
it-
mine were different. Mine were in the back of the neck and the jaws, and my back teeth were killing me. My back teeth.
Yeah.
And I just felt crappy. But the thing that saved me, I'm certain of that, is I always carry aspirin with me. I have for years riding my bike, because you start. So I started taking some aspirin, and I almost was ashamed to admit this, but I finished the 50-mile ride.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The doctors were really, and his wife were really happy with him because he decided to finish the ride.
Yeah, nobody was happy with me.
No.
Yeah. But that you said that about the the test, the stress test. Later on, my cardiologist told me, I said, man, I passed all this and done all that. He says, yeah, that stuff really don't work well for people that are in shape. I said, what?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, if you're in shape, it works for people that are out of shape, you can tell. But if you're in shape, it's hard to tell.
So you probably had plaque that exploded too.
Yeah. Had
gunk
gunk
blood clot.
Yeah. Mine was on the artery on the back going down. So, and you're laying in a hospital bed. I said, what should I do? And they go, they go over everything, but they go, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You eat right. You do this, you do that. It's genetic. All right.
Really? So, Jeff, what'd you have for breakfast?
But I actually worked out this morning. I think we were talking because I'm getting texts from you at 6:30 in the morning. You're up and running around already.
Right.
So I jumped in the gym and I had a huge protein shake this morning. That's all I've had was this morning. So
is that a normal, or just when you work out, or do you work out?
Just when I work out. I work out 3 to 4 days a week.
Okay.
And then I'm going to eat either oatmeal or I'm going to eat eggs. And I'm going to eat some eggs with avocado, chopped up avocado, some chopped up tomatoes. That's primary. Yeah, I need protein. I know at our age we don't get enough protein.
Yeah, because you're working out. You've got
everybody needs protein. Most people don't get enough protein.
That's right.
So
most people.
If I have granola, really good stuff,
right.
Granola.
Your wife probably made it.
No. This is the granola. And then I have, with that granola in there, I put whatever the fruit off our farm, like it was peaches, right? So I always put 2 peaches cut up in there. And then I had raw milk. Now,
great.
Is that okay?
Great.
Okay.
Raw milk. God bless you, man. You're that's like God's milk.
Well, that's from Rat Farms here in California, and the representative of that is Jane, the goat lady. And she has it, and so she gets it for me. And I tell you, and I was never a big milk drinker unless it was in cereal or something, right? And it's the best milk it's raw milk.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I think everybody. I mean, when you eat meat, red meat isn't bad for you if you're not eating the ones that have antibiotics and hormones in them. If they're the chickens that have been walking around, they're not full of hormone. Eat them. Eat the red meat. Eat that's the protein.
I know. Jeff, are you familiar with Dr. Attia's work, Peter Attia, or his book?
Oh yeah, I know Peter.
You know him?
I know Peter. Yes.
Really? Yeah. I got hooked on him through Tim Ferriss's podcast. And I read his book. I don't know
Tim, but I know of him.
Yeah, that is an interesting book, and he's talking about most cholesterol you eat goes right through your body anyway. If you're having cholesterol problems, it's probably genetic. Family. Because our genes don't care after we procreation age. Our genes don't care whether we live or die.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I know that mine was genetic. They told me it was genetic, and so they want to give you statins. I couldn't take statin drugs. I got the myalgia from a statin drug, so I could hardly get out of a chair.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but I take them.
Really?
Yeah, I take one at night, and they mess with your body a little bit, but
Oh God,
I'm
I'm gonna
above
move over
ground.
here.
I
I got to get myself plugged in here, boys. So give me just a second.
yeah.
I'm good.
Now,
Well,
Mark, if you're, hey, I want to warn Mark right now. There's two things I want to warn him about. One, when there's 1 minute to go, don't ask him about AI. And, and two, and
Well,
two,
I
we
guess
haven't even started this itinerary off on this talk today because we haven't talked to anything financial. We went right to the wrestling, the health.
I'm going to talk. This is really what I wanted to get.
Well, me too. But I'm just going off your.
So I do have a question. Are you now? You mentioned about red meat, and I know you eat eggs. Are you primarily plant based though, or how's that? Okay.
What I did, and we could talk about money anytime, so you can invite me back. But
yeah,
all right,
low carb, keto type of a diet was what they changed me to.
Mm-hmm.
So you can. So when I'm looking at food, I'm looking at food as fuel. That is it's not what it was. I'm Italian, so I love, give me food, give me pasta, put cheese on it, put sauce on it. I'm gonna want it. So what we found out was I got to eat less of that. Now I'm not going to eat none of it, but I'm going to eat less of it. But if you look at my plate, it's going to be a lot of raw foods, a lot of raw vegetables. I don't cook a lot of my vegetables. I'm going to eat raw tomatoes. I'm going to cook a potato, but I'm not going to cook carrots. I'm going to cook asparagus, but I love raw asparagus just as much. So I eat a lot of raw vegetables.
You have to put melted cheese on your raw asparagus?
No. we try and eat a little less dairy than we used to, but I still think yogurt is a really great and for me that's like dessert. Yogurt with the granola.
So what's your, but isn't there good and bad yogurt? I mean, you've got your really sugary yogurts that are basically, but
yes.
So what do you eat raw yogurt? Is it raw?
I can, but most of the time it's just going to be the unflavored because that's going to have not going to get the sugar in. So I would like, sugar is the biggest problem I think that all of us have.
Yeah,
if you can get rid of sugar,
right,
you're going to be much healthier.
Right. I agree.
That's probably my worst problem.
Yeah, me too.
Like berries are great, but you eat stone fruit. There's a lot of sugar in fruit.
Yeah, but that's not the sugar I'm worried about. I'm worried about cane sugar that's processed. Anything that's processed. So when we're talking about this, processed foods become sugar, and processed foods are A and B to me. And then what kind of food am I eating that has no antibiotics, no hormones? So I want as clean a food as I can have. I want as little sugar as I can have. And I want as few processed foods. So if it comes in a bag or a box, I'm going to really wonder whether it's something I'm going to put in my body. And so they say walk around the edge of the grocery store. Don't walk in up and down those aisles because that's where you find all of the processed food.
That's where the junk.
That's right.
Well, so do you have a dog?
I have 2 dogs.
Okay, what do you feed them?
We not as well as we should.
Okay.
Because they do eat.
I talked to one buddy and I said, so he goes, my dogs eat what I eat, I tried that with my dogs. They were gaining so much weight.
Yeah, they can't. They got to eat different. They get different chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, we feed them more of a protein type of a diet. So I tend to use those big logs of food and cut them up.
Yeah.
So it's as close to meat as I can get without. Now I've had friends that actually cook chicken and things for their animals.
Yeah. And then
I'm not.
You go to Manhattan Beach, they've got a pet store or a food store, where any of us could walk in there and get a meal, but it's all for animals, I mean,
right.
That, wow, but it's expensive, so.
Well, yeah, and I think that's why we give them a lot of grain.
Yeah.
It's the cost.
And also, depending on their age and all of that too, what you give them.
I think this diet thing is an interesting thing to me because when I was a young man or
younger man.
We're
still young. We're still young.
I read, I used to read all the muscle and fitness magazines and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Wilder and
Joe Wilder. I haven't heard that name in forever.
You remember him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, and by the way, if you haven't seen Arnold's 3-part documentary on Netflix, it's worth a watch. I'm really a fan, and I was more of a fan even afterward. Anyway, but one thing that has not changed after all these years, these bodybuilders have known it forever. They used to say it over and over: leans and greens, leans and greens, leans and greens, and that nothing's changed about that. They can call it a new diet.
Lean meat and
greens. Eat your leans and greens.
When I was a lifeguard in Miami for 5 summers, and there was a couple of 4 or 5 of the guys that were bodybuilders. It was a big deal on the beach, and so I saw what they would eat. And when you're talking about, they would get lean, they would eat raw meats, but it was lean meats that they would put in their body,
and a lot of it.
And I met Joe. I met Arnold when he was promoting with these guys, and he was promoting the old Joe Weider products.
Yeah.
It wasn't his stuff at that point.
That's
what was the most surprising thing about meeting Arnold?
What's that?
He's not as tall as I thought he was.
But he
5'11",
as a bodybuilder, he was one of the taller ones. If you look at what's the Italian guy,
Colombo, Frank Colombo.
Frank Colombo was 5, I don't know, 3, 4, 6.
5, 6.
That's short. That's really short.
Mm-hmm. How tall is Schwarzenegger?
Not more than 6 feet, 6'1".
He's 6'1", something like 6'1", 6'2".
Calling me short.
He's not 6'2", I don't think. I'd be surprised if he's 6'2".
You might be right.
I think you hit 6 foot for me. I'd love to be 6 foot.
Well, you shrink, so I'm not 6 feet anymore, and Arnold isn't either. But I remember what I remember the most is that I always heard that girls, they don't like big muscles. They don't. Well, Arnold walked in, and it was like every girl in the place they left your arm and they were going to go talk to Mr. Arnold, and he had just a bevy of beautiful women hanging around him. No wonder he got himself in trouble.
Yeah, I started to say that might be part of his problem.
I'll bet it is.
And he's very honest in his documentary about, his marriage and his son out of wedlock. And he is very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah,
it sure changed his life.
He still works out. He still gets in the gym. He still throws plates around, and still does the protein. He says, after work, Jeff, that, once you work out, you got 30 minutes to get protein in you.
As we get older, I think that one of the things that we are missing the most is weight training.
I agree. I could 100%.
But as you get older, it's supposed to be light weights, or
no? You got to lift some heavy stuff.
You got to have some.
I mean, if you fall on the ground, can you get back up? If you're laying there on your back, can you get back up? And if you can't, you need to lay on your back and figure out how to get back up now, not when you fall down. And so
that's a good question. I don't know.
Well, you're working right now. You're working for 10 years, 15 years from now.
Yes, exactly. You've got and look around at our. I mean,
that's a great way to put it. That's a great way to think about it. Wow, Peter
Attia was saying that one of the muscle things that we lose. I can't remember the name, but when you walk up a step, you're using a certain, but when you walk down the step, you're using a whole different muscle contraction thing. And if you've ever ran a marathon or anything, everybody will tell you what's the worst thing you can do the next day. Walk down the stairs, not up, down.
No.
And he says we lose that, and he said people forget they don't jump anymore. They get to a certain age
Right.
and they don't jump, so they lose that.
Right.
And
Burpees.
and he says the hand grip thing. We lose the hand grip,
You
and
guys are killing me. You're killing me.
and he says these are the things that keep you out of the nursing home.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now Peter and I were talking about. I introduced to him a what we came to call the 4-step challenge, and basically it was: can you get down on one knee, put your hands above your head, and get back to your feet? Can you get down on 2 knees and with your hands above your head, get back to your feet? Can you sit on your butt, get back to your feet with your hands in the air? So you're not using your hand. Can you lay on your back, hold your hands above your head, and get to your feet? And I would have clients pushing chairs that when I didn't talk about it, they'd be pushing chairs out of the way. Yeah, let's try it. Or they would be sitting there and I'd get the phone call the next day, usually from the wife. I can do it. He can't. So
I like that.
That's interesting.
If you cannot lay down on your back and put your hands above, you need to learn how to do it. It's just absolutely fundamental.
I need you need, and this is not an indictment of Rotary, but Rotary is a lot of older people. Even though I know wealth management is the moneymaker, and we should ask at least one finance question. But anyway, and that'll be, does AI no, just kidding.
How does AI tie in with wealth management? You got 2 minutes.
But I would love for you to come and speak at Rotary at some point and just talk about that. Talk about health. Talk about
it's a big thing. I couldn't agree with Jeff more.
Wrestling, but then you can talk about diet. You can talk about, can you go down on one knee with your hands up and right? That's the kind of stuff. That's what people need to hear.
You use your hip flexor muscles, and you're going to be sooner than.
Oh God! Oh yeah, you're in a walker.
You're in a walker.
You're in a walker. I call it. We developed something that we call the Great Life Adventure, and the goal of the Great Life Adventure is to inspire and motivate 1 million people in the next 10 years to embrace healthier lifestyles and longevity through diet, exercise, prayer, and meditation. And it's essentially my story and me waving my finger and say, "Don't do what I did, do what I do now." And
now I have one question.
Sure.
What about alcohol?
I've been sober for 20 years, so I don't drink.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Excellent.
But I think that I don't have a problem. The idea of having a glass of alcohol a day, wine or beer, everything I've read suggests that we need a little. It's not a bad thing to have a little bit of alcohol. But some of us needed a little less of it.
I know that Arnold. I saw a posting of his where he was making a shake smoothie, and he put a protein thing, and he put a shot of schnapps in it, and he claims it speeds protein delivery. Now I don't know if he was joking, but
I think he was pulling our leg.
Maybe I don't know. He put it in his protein shake. The other thing about lifting weights is that the people that a lot don't understand this is part of it, and why they have to be a certain amount of heaviness to it, because you're bending the bones. When you lift a weight, you're bending your arm bends, your bones bend, and that keeps the growth stuff going in your bones, so you don't get porosity in your bones and have issues that way. And women more than men have
another piece of this whole pie that we haven't even talked about, but we could spend the whole conversation about is sleep.
Yeah.
How if you're working out and you're training the way we're talking about, you are going to sleep better. Now you may wake up early. You're going to go to bed early. You're going to wake up early. It seems to be a theme, but you're going to get that. You're going to sleep 80 or 90% of the time that you're down, and that's the key. If it's 8 hours and you're going to get 7 and some hours, some change of sleep, you're going to get some deep sleep. You're going to be able. I'm a fanatic about wearing an Oura ring. Do you have an Oura ring? Do you wear one?
I'm not sure what it is.
I just have this ring right here.
Get this one.
Ball and chain.
Well, you're a lucky man. I've met your wife. So the Oura ring is a special ring that's a tracker really for sleep and activity. It's almost like a Fitbit, but for your hand. So a lot of people who are into fitness and biohacking wear these rings because every morning, first thing I do is I'm checking to see what my sleep was like the night before. How much deep sleep, how much REM.
Is it an electronic device?
It's right there.
A wearable?
Yes, sir. See it?
Does it communicate with your phone or something?
It's not giving you data. It's
a tracker, and then it's an app on my it's an app on my phone. Absolutely.
Really?
Wait, tracker to your phone.
Yes.
It was just all right, what's it called?
OURA.
Okay.
I'll send you my code. You get a little discount.
All right.
Yeah. My wife wears an iPhone or iWatch to bed. I can't wear something like that to bed.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even know the ring. You don't realize.
Yeah, I could do that. I could do that.
But it is, and I'm a big believer in the data. So I collect data from the Fitbit. I wear a Fitbit. I wear it when I train.
I wear a Garmin.
Same thing. Yep.
And you can see my heart attack on Strava. If you look at the date, you can see me out riding and we're going along, and all of a sudden the heart rate drops. And
I wear a heart rate monitor to train in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you use a heart rate monitor.
Yeah, I do. That's what you see on Strava is the heart rate monitor.
So what is your BPM in the middle of training?
Well, when at the height of training, the goal was to average 120 beats a minute for 1 hour.
So 120
for 1 hour.
Yeah.
But I walk around at about 55.
Zone.
My normal blood pressure is about 55.
Wow.
So
Mark, did I tell you I had a mood ring for a while, but I lost it. Now I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. We're down to 1 minute and 46 seconds, so we got to say our goodbyes here.
Yeah, all right, Jeff.
And don't ask about AI.
I'm going to call you up. I want you to come and speak to our Rotary group. I think this is information that needs to be gotten out there. I'm going to change my intro on my newsletter because I think this is fascinating. I think it's good information. It's stuff that people need to hear. And you've walked the talk, and you're not just some young buck that did it. You were an older buck, and you made it happen for yourself. And it's surprising how much just fresh, locally grown.
Absolutely, we are so lucky.
So much crap into our bodies. That's why corn today is not the corn that our great grandparents ate.
No.
Hey, listen, Jeff, it was good to meet you, and
yes,
this has been a wonderful program. This took a different direction than I thought it would, and I love it. Love it. So I think we'll have to have you back because there are some topics on this financial thing I'd like to hear your take.
We got to talk about AI. I love AI.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh my gosh!
Mark thinks it's going to kill us.
Yeah, we'll have you on again.
Thank you.
Good enough, Jeff. Good enough, baby.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Good. 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 Enough. As good enough.